On this episode, we try to learn some valuable lessons from the strange personalities we've met in Bangkok.
So if you've got stories of interesting people and any odd characters you've met in the land of smiles, you'll dig this episode of the Bangkok Podcast.
Sawadee krap, and welcome to the Bangkok Podcast. My name is Greg Jorgensen, a Canadian who came to Thailand 23 years ago because my pillows back home were too round and fluffy, but decided to stay when I found that Thailand had pillows with corners.
Pillows with corners. You got to love them or hate them.
Yes.
And I'm Ed Knuth, an American who came to Thailand on a one-year teaching contract 24 years ago, fell in love with Thai students who nod and say they understand everything, which means officially I can stop trying to explain stuff, so I never left.
Nice.
As long as they say they get it, I'm allowed to stop.
You're going to have to give them a little document to sign a waiver. Do you get it?
That's right.
Yes, no.
I believe them. I take them at their word. We want to give a big thanks to all of our patrons who support the show. Patrons get every episode a day early, behind-the-scenes photos of our interviews, a heads-up to send questions to upcoming guests, and access to our Discord server to chat with me, Greg, and other listeners around the world. But best of all, patrons also get an unscripted, uncensored bonus episode every week where we riff on current events and Bangkok topics. On this week's bonus show, we chatted about Greg's upcoming trip to China and whether or not he'll be able to read his mail or send any messages, a discussion on the White Lotus effect and how this soft power monster will play out in Thailand, and discussions about a group of Thai protesters holding up a sign that read, White Thailand, which may not mean what you think it means. To learn how to become a patron and get all this good stuff, plus full access to over 700 bonus and regular back episodes, click the support button at the top of our website.
That's right. And if you listen to us on Spotify, you can hear all the bonus shows there as well if you're a patron. Simply link your Patreon account to your Spotify account, add our new feed titled Bangkok Podcast Badass Patrons Only to hear the regular show and the bonus show in the same place. Right then, well, in this episode, we are reaching way back into our Bangkok memory holes to learn some lessons from all the handshaking and networking we've done over the years. Now, it's not a stretch to say that Bangkok attracts people who tend to cluster around the interesting quadrant of the personality matrix, and that can mean anything from someone with a cool or unique job to people who shouldn't be trusted to sit the right way around on a toilet. But no matter what type of interesting person you meet, there's almost always a lesson to be learned, and that's what we're going to do this week. Each of us will think back to two different people we've met who have stuck in our memories, but we're going to take it a step further than your average gossip story and try to come up with a few ways in which this person helped us understand Bangkok a bit better and or our place in it. So Ed, you've been here a little bit longer than I have, and I think it's safe to say we've both met our share of weirdos and strangers and interesting characters.
It's funny. There's many different levels to this. One level is just kind of the oddball character you meet or maybe interact with only a few times. So I have a bunch of stories about that, like just odd people I've met, but I don't really know them, and they're not a part of my life. But I think I'd rather, instead of talking about those kind of people, I'd rather talk about friends of mine who I kind of like and respect and I think are very interesting people, but who I've learned something from. Like, not just, obviously I've learned from you just talking about Thai stuff, but I mean just seeing their experiences here, because you and I have both known so many expats over the years, and some of us have stuck around. You and I have a crew of 6 or 7 like old timers, so each of us knows, I don't know, 10, 15, 20 like people who were expats, foreign friends. In my case, I'm going to talk about an American friend of mine and a Swedish friend of mine are the two people I'm going to talk about, who both left Thailand for very different reasons. But there's just different reasons why people are here and different reasons why people leave. And I feel like I've learned some lessons. I've learned some lessons from that.
Yeah, it's interesting because I'm going to talk about two strangers who are not friends of mine, but who still had an impact on me. And, it's funny, like, even though we've been here so long, everyone shows up to Thailand No matter how many YouTube videos you watch, or back in our day, no matter how many Lonely Planet guides you read,
That's right.
everyone shows up here relatively green.
Oh
And
yeah,
there's a learning curve,
that's right.
and you've got to figure out a lot of shit on your own, a lot of stuff that you just can't learn from watching a YouTube video or reading a book. And sometimes it's the lesson is disastrous. Sometimes it sticks with you, sometimes it doesn't, and you make the same mistake. But the secret is to recognize a lesson and to take it away and go, what does that teach me about my place in
Yeah,
Bangkok and
yeah.
Thailand?
In my case, the two people I'm going to talk about are basically positive. These are people that I kind of like and respect. They both had drama in their lives in different ways, but I also consider them kind of interesting characters. I mean, I don't want to use their name, and they're both still out there, so I feel a little bit odd talking about them because they're friends of mine. But I think of both of them as interesting people, and I just don't know if I was back home if I would have connected with them. This is
Right.
the one of the many cool things about being an expat is you get thrown into a jar with a bunch of people who you might have hooked up with back home, maybe, but there's a lot of people you either wouldn't have connected with, you wouldn't have interacted with, different background, different social circle, different whatever. But now we have something in common. Now we're foreigners in Thailand, and then we have some.
Right.
So I think it's great. Like I love that kind of shaking up the social stratosphere effect that being an expat has. Now I do have friends who are from the outside are very similar to me, same age. Like I'm friends with what 3, 4 ex-American lawyers.
Okay.
So to outsiders, we would all look the same.
Right.
It's like Jesus,
Right.
could you be more similar? Uh,
Yeah. Like, did you put out an ad on Craigslist looking for other
yeah,
American lawyers to hang out with?
middle-aged
Yeah.
ex-American lawyers. Uh, but a bunch of my other friends are just people that are just different age groups and obviously different
Right.
countries. And Jesus Christ, I'm actually friends with these people called Europeans. Like this strange,
Right.
like this very strange tribe. I remember David Attenborough talking about them once, like on a TV show. On a TV show I saw. I actually know some of them. I actually know some of them now.
The mating rituals of the Frenchmen
That's right.
involve wine and cheese. No, the first
That's
time I
literally right. That's literally accurate.
the first time that I realized this was when, and this guy is not one of my two, but I didn't even know who his name was, but I just randomly met a guy from Liberia
Oh, cool.
at
Very
a
cool.
dinner
That's what
one
I'm
time,
saying.
and I was talking
Exactly.
to him. Yeah, and I was talking to him, and I'm like, so what brings you here? And he's like, oh, I escaped a civil war,
Right.
and
Jesus.
they
Right.
burned my village down, and I was like, holy crap! Like,
Yes.
I would never have met this
Yes.
guy back in Canada in my life. No
Yes.
way in hell.
Yes.
And I was like, man, Bangkok really provides this really fascinating canvas to expand and
No,
meet all these
foreigners
kinds
just
of
get
people.
thrown together and like shaken up, and I'm all for it. It's I mean it's one of the reasons
Yeah.
I stay here, just because of that kind of unpredictable. I never know who I'm going to meet and what their background is going to be. But let's get back to this topic. So, like I said, there's different ways you can kind of interpret this topic. But do you want to do one of your? I guess apparently you're going to talk about some truly strange characters you met, and like you made sounds like you had kind of a negative impression of them. Is that right?
Not necessarily, and it's funny because these are stories that I think I've at least touched on the podcast before, and I may have told this first one before too, but not what I took away from it. But I think I've told the story before of this random dude named VP.
Okay.
Don't know where that comes from. I met him one time at a party, and he was a guy from Africa, a black guy from Africa, really cool dude, and he invited me out to a party one time, and I was like, yeah, man, I've been here. I'd been in Bangkok about 3 months at this point, so I was really quite lonely, and I was broke, and I was looking for friends. And he's like, hey, do you want to come to a party with me? And I said, yeah, sure. So I met him at the Novotel Hotel in Siam Square. And I remember I walked into the lobby, and he was wearing a bright red and black striped suit, like a
Wait,
full on suit,
wait. So not you mean a proper suit, not
like a business
but
suit.
not like a gym suit because that sounds like a gym suit you're describing.
No, 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 like an Armani suit.
Oh, geez. But it's
And
red and black stripes.
bright red and black
Oh,
stripes.
great.
Yeah, and I'm in my like tan shorts and my Columbia sandals backpacker gear because I didn't have enough money to buy anything else. Right. So anyway, we went to this party, and this is my story. Longtime listeners may have heard me talk about this before, where he went to some United Nations party, and most of the people at this party were working for the United
Okay.
Nations. And what was shocking to me, I was like, wow, these people are really cool. They're really interesting. Like, this will be fun. I'll make some new friends in this interesting
Oh,
area.
that was your
And
expectation, you mean?
that was my expectation. And to this day, I have never met a group of people who are more stuck up, arrogant pricks
Oh, wow.
than every single person I met at this party.
Damn.
Every single person I met was someone that I would do a lot to get away from,
Oh,
that I
jeez.
would never want to talk to again. And I
Wow.
was,
Okay. Yeah.
I was shocked,
Wild.
a little bit depressed. And
It's funny. I don't think I've had this experience, but go on.
it started when they were asking me, oh, so what do you do? And I was like, oh, I'm a teacher. And like as soon as that came out of my mouth, they were like, all right, we're done here. And you could almost like hear their eyes rolling,
Oh,
like,
geez.
oh, one of these guys.
Brutal.
And granted, I was a quote unquote teacher at some quote unquote language school. Like I wasn't very high on the totem pole, and I get it, but I mean, I'm still a person.
Right.
So
Yeah.
anyway,
Yeah. Yeah.
I sort of like after a while, I was like, the hell with all these idiots, and I just went swimming in the swimming pool by myself, and then I got up and I left and never saw VP again.
Oh, wow.
but but my takeaway from this was it was the first time that I realized that there was a social strata of expats in Bangkok. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like
I guess these were okay.
there
So I
was
think in the modern parlance, these people would be called cultural elitists or the cultural elite. So I'm guessing
I guess so.
the average UN employee here in Thailand is probably, I'm guessing, super well educated, PhDs and
Right.
world travelers. So it sounds
Right.
like you just ran into some snobs. It's too bad you had a bad experience. It's funny because we have listeners. We have a guest. We've had guests on our show who work at the UN, and a
Totally.
good friend of the podcast who I was just emailing today or messaging today is working at the UN right now. So I know some cool, interesting, smart UN people myself.
100%, 100%. And maybe it was just that particular group, or maybe it was the fact that I was wearing my my beat up old backpackers
Oh,
outfit
funny.
saying I was a teacher. And everyone there had like multiple degrees, and they were at these,
Yes.
high so jobs with drivers and tax-free US dollar
Shit. Yeah.
salaries and
Shit.
stuff
Yeah.
like that. So I kind of get it, but again, I was a bit green, and I thought like, hey man, we're all in this cool little adventure together, and let's be
No, it's a good
friends.
it's a
And
good lesson that there are just different types of expats, and actually this ties into a little bit of one of my themes, is that there's just different reasons why people are in Thailand, and there's different paths that they got here by.
right, totally, totally. And what's funny about this is that if I've been here 23 years, and I gotta say I'm proud of what I've accomplished.
Sure.
I've worked my way up to a real career
Heck yeah.
and a family and all that
You're a
stuff.
very important
So
person, Greg. I just want you to know that.
thank you. I am now VP. Got to get myself a red and black striped suit. But if I met some guy at a party and I said, "What do you do?" and he was wearing shabby clothes, and he's like, "Oh, I work at 123 teaching
1, 2, 3
school
English.
for." Yeah, and I would probably be a little bit, at least mentally, like, "Oh, okay,
I'm
he's
kind of
he's
busy.
over
I
here in
gotta.
that pile."
Yeah, right. Yeah. No, you're right.
Right,
It's
right,
tough. I
yeah,
mean, it's actually a good lesson about just not judging people and socially
yeah,
being cool to everyone. And uh, the, but I think you're right. This is part of expats being mixed up together. People come from different like social backgrounds, educational backgrounds, and so there's going to be some friction where like you're
yeah.
bumping up against people with just a different take, a different background on what's going on.
Totally. And that would happen at home too. But my mistake was thinking like, hey, we're all in this crazy country together, and so we've got this thing in
Yeah,
common.
they're like
Not all the time.
Greg. Okay, we're not together. We're not with
Yeah.
you.
Yeah.
We're not with your type of expat.
You go over there at the children's table. We'll be over here.
That's funny. I like that lesson. So my lesson is actually quite different. So this has to do with a buddy of mine, and he's still out there. So I'm not going to use his name. I'm just going to call him my Swedish friend. And I've been in Thailand 25 years, and he was a good friend of mine for about 3, 4, maybe almost 5 years. So in my first decade here, he was just a huge part of the story. Again, I'm just going to call him my Swedish buddy. Um, and I think years past, I've told more details about this story, but kind of roughly it goes something like this. So I become friends with him. We get along really well. I like him a lot. Still like him a lot. But over time, he started to confess how he ended up in Thailand. You know, again, like we just said, when we meet foreigners, we all have different backgrounds. We don't know why people are here, how they ended up here.
Right.
You and I like to ask this of expats a lot. So, what's your like Thailand origin story? You know,
Yeah.
how'd you
Yeah.
end up here? And so he basically told me that he had problems back home in Sweden, and I mean, it ends up being fairly complicated, but it has to do with like he had like a drug problem, and that led to a money problem, and that led to problems with the law in Sweden. So this is a buddy of mine I've known for years, and he's confessing to me that actually he's wanted for some crimes in back home in Sweden, and
Oh, geez.
that's how we ended up in Thailand. Essentially, he told me he's running away from the law. Now, what he told me at the time is that it was all about money and drugs, and then him and his friends cooked up some credit card scam
Oh,
thing.
geez.
And so this is weird. You know, this is someone I've been friends with for a couple of years, and he's basically saying, I made some mistakes back home, and I kind of came here, and I'm kind of restarting my life. You know, that was the thing.
Okay.
So this is
Okay.
kind of mind blowing. So I'm already kind of learning a lesson, you know, from this. But that's not the real
Sure.
story. That's not the end of the story. It gets even weirder. Randomly one day I get a call from him, and he has been arrested. He was down in Phuket. He was flying back to Bangkok, and he got arrested by Thai police at the airport. And there was an Interpol arrest warrant out for him. And so he
Oh, geez.
got arrested by the Thai police, taken to Thai immigration, and he's calling me from Thai immigration, and he's telling me, Adam, like I got arrested by immigration, by Interpol. I got to go back to Sweden to like face this thing
Oh, my God.
that he told me about. You know, this is what he told me about. So it was a very strange thing. Like, so listeners out there, I've got some advice for you. Don't have an Interpol arrest warrant out on your name. Don't do that. Because so essentially he gets arrested, taken to this immigration detention center, and he can't. That's it. He can't go home. He can't go to his apartment. Like you get snatched, and then that's it. So he, you know, he and I'm a buddy of his. You know, I guess he turned to me. Maybe I was his best friend, or he had been dating a girl. I don't know what. I can't remember the exact details, but he's basically saying like
Right.
he can't get into his apartment. He can't
Oh,
do
man.
anything, and he ends up basically getting deported. So he never gets to go home. He's coming back from Phuket, and he gets snatched and he gets deported back to Sweden.
Oh, geez.
Uh, and there's even further twists. And again, this is a super long story, but I'm giving the key summary. It turns out when the story broke, because it became a story in Thailand and then actually also in Sweden, it turns out that actually he was wanted for a more serious crime in Sweden, and then he basically had kind of whitewashed why he was here. So he was kind of telling me a half truth. You know, I'm here because I'm
Oh.
here because of these legal problems in Sweden, but actually the legal problems were worse. And he ended up getting convicted in Sweden and going to jail for 2 years, and he got blacklisted in Thailand for 10 years.
Wow.
Now, because I'm so old and have been here so long, that 10 years is now expired.
Oh, so he can come
He
back.
can, but I'm not in touch with him anymore. It's been about, I think it's almost 10 years since I communicated with him.
Oh,
But
wow.
I know, trust me, the story is way longer. So I'm really shortening it. But my lesson that I learned from this, and I learned a fairly painful lesson from it, even though I like him, he was a buddy of mine, but the lesson I just learned is expats come here for different reasons, and you don't like, so in this case, this is a guy who I liked and respected, but he had something in his past that he was actually kind of running away from. You know what I mean? and so it's not like the lesson I just kind of learned is that it's not like meeting someone here is not like meeting someone in grade school or high school. It's just there.
Right.
Even in my case, I went to university. I went to a competitive university, so I did meet a variety of people at university, but everyone there is like straight A students in high school. You know what I mean? So you're not.
No one has any like, or rarely do people have any wacky origin story.
Well, no, you think you're at university, you're like, oh, I'm meeting a variety of people. No, you're not. You're meeting people who got really good
Yeah.
grades in high school. Like that's who you're meeting. Like you're not meeting
That's
like
right.
most
That's right.
people. You're actually not. You're in a highly selective group of people. You're not with normal people. Actually, with normal people have crazy drama. And
Right.
and so my lesson I learned from him is just, and again, it's not, and I'm out of touch with him now. Um, but just the lesson I learned is just to remember when you meet expats, even if right now you like the person, you're like, wow, this person's smart and funny and cool. They've already, we're meeting people later in life. You don't know what happened in their past.
It raises an interesting question as to what the threshold should be for receptiveness to help or to get involved, or for someone to let you into their inner circle. Like if someone agrees to let you into their inner circle, maybe you shouldn't always go. Like
Yeah, it's tough. I mean,
like
I don't. Do I have regrets? I mean, it was. I would say this. The story is more awkward than anything else. The bottom line, he was a friend of mine, and I stood by him to the extent I could. He wasn't totally honest with me, but I also understand his. The bottom line is we subsequently talked about it. So we did stay in touch for several years after this happened. It just, again, I'm so
right.
old that this is a long time ago. But he basically said that he went to Thailand to go straight, to clean his life up. And he actually said to me, one reason why he connected with me is he thought that, whatever, he liked me just because I think of myself as wild or crazy, but I'm not, compared to other people. He looked at me because I was already teaching at the time, and I'm a former lawyer, so he looked at me, maybe somewhat mistakenly, as someone who has his shit together. You know what I mean?
It's funny.
So so he really was coming to Thailand, and he actually was going to school here. That's how I met him. He was a student of mine.
Oh,
Yeah,
interesting. Okay.
and so he was coming to Thailand to get his act together, which is weird, because we think of people coming to Thailand and going crazy. Like he
Right.
actually came here to get his act together, to escape like these past mistakes that
Mm.
eventually sucked him back, and he couldn't. He had to go pay his dues.
Right.
So it's just for me, the lesson is just to remember that everyone has a different backstory.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
expats are not like
And
I think we tend to assume people are like us, but they're not. People are not like us.
right.
I
I
mean,
do
you're
that all
not
the
like
time
me. I
talking
mean,
about.
I ended up here for different reasons than you did.
Yeah. I do that all the time talking about religion. I just assume someone has the same views as I do, and then I make some horribly
Right.
anti-religion joke, and someone gets offended, and I'm like, "Oh, right,
Oh, that's
everyone's
right.
different."
Yeah, that people
I need
actually
to remember
believe.
that.
There's some people who believe in this stuff.
Yeah, that's a good one. That's a good one. Well, my second guy was again, I think someone I've mentioned on the show before, at least the Patreon show. But I used to work with this guy, and I'll use his real name because I have no idea what his last name was, and this was 20 years ago, so who knows? But this dude named Seth, and I used to work with him at the girls' school, the girls' high school
Right.
that I
Yeah.
taught
Sure.
at, and I didn't know him too well, but a couple of times we went out, and one night he suggested we go to Nana Plaza. And believe it or not, at the time, I was about a year into my time in Thailand then. I had no idea what Nana Plaza was. I never heard of it,
Oh,
never been
right.
to it. And I'm like, what is it? And he's like, oh, it's this crazy place, all these dancing girls and bars. And I was like, oh, okay, I guess it's one of those places I've read about. I'd never been there before. So I went, and nothing crazy. We had a like sort of a half drunken night of stumbling around and watching the shows and stuff like this. And at the end of the night, it sort of struck me, and it was a fun night, and he was a nice enough guy. But at the end of the night, it struck me that he knew a lot of the girls by name. And I was like, well, first of all, like, not to fall into
You
the
know a
to the
lot of them by
dreaded
name.
stereotype well, not to fall in the dreaded stereotype of all Asians look the same, but the places are dark. The
Right.
girls are all wearing roughly the same thing.
Right. Yeah. Yes.
They've all got
Yeah.
the roughly
Yeah.
similar haircuts. You can't tell anyone apart. But he knew them all by name, and it only dawned on me later. I'm like, if you know multiple girls at multiple bars
Right.
by name, you spend a lot of time
That's
here.
right.
And I was like, wow, this guy spends a lot of
He's a
time at
regular.
this
Yeah.
place. Yeah. And then like a few weeks later we went out to another place. I think it was close to Nana, or it wasn't even in Cowboy. It wasn't even in Cowboy. It was outside of Cowboy. And he knew all the girls in that place too by name.
Funny.
And it struck me like, wow, this guy and I don't have much in common at all. Like he spends all of his time and all of his money
Right.
and all of his energy at this place. And it was the first time that I met someone where I went like, oh wow, it's really easy to get sucked into this
Oh, I see.
this lifestyle of
Oh,
cheap, easy fun.
oh, yeah. Actually, that's a good insight. I mean, it's funny. I think a lot of people come here assuming that. So it's kind of interesting that it sounds like you were a little bit naive there, Mr. Craig.
Oh, 100%, 100%. But back in white bread Calgary, or even Okotoks, the town that I've
Okotoks. I
actually
love
grown
that
in.
name.
It's a great
Okotoks.
name.
That,
Means
that,
means
that
big
sounds
rock.
like
How
what it
dare
is.
you make
That
fun?
sounds like what it is.
It is. It's a native. It's a First Nations name, proud and proudly standing there for hundreds and hundreds of years. But like if someone who spends all their time in a red light district is not someone I would ever come into contact with in my life in Canada. But here, it was just a random dude. He was a coworker. And to the outside observer,
Oh,
he
right.
was exactly the same as
Oh,
me.
I see what
Right?
you're saying.
He was a teacher. He was a teacher.
That's right.
Whereas I think in Canada, broadly speaking, someone who knew all the girls' names at a red light district probably would not be on the same social level as me. But here he was.
Oh, right.
You know?
Oh, yeah. Actually, okay. Okay. Now I kind of I see where you're going, Craig.
Yeah.
I think this is actually a good lesson. In other words, what I mentioned before is about people's kind of backstories, but you're talking about actually different expats in Thailand have very different lives, or you might consider a double life, but because of
Mm.
the nightlife scene and that whole thing, people interpret it completely differently. So I think
Right.
so I think I have learned this lesson myself. Whereas I have met other foreigners who are fairly ignorant of that whole thing. It's like they've never explored it, or never, they kind of know it's there, but they never enter that zone. And then, of course, as you're
Right.
pointing out, then there's the other guys who get sucked into that zone, and you realize, oh shit, they're actually still stuck there.
Right.
where you're
Yeah.
like, oh,
Yeah.
I was in that zone for like 3 weeks, 12 years ago. I remember that.
Exactly.
You're like, yeah, I remember those 3 weeks, and then you realize, oh, this guy's stuck there.
Yeah, I had a couple of crazy weekends. Boy, that was fun.
And you
And then
realize,
I got on with
oh,
things.
he's still in the zone.
And that was my realization, because months later, like 3 months later, he was asking me for money. He's like, "Hey man, can I borrow 500 baht just to get me to the end of the week?" And I was broke too. And I was like, "Well, yeah, of course you're broke, because you spend,
That's right.
you're buying girls drinks and stuff every night.
Yeah, I wonder.
You're down
Yeah,
at,
right.
at these places."
Yeah.
And a funny addendum to that story, a few months after that, he was fired from the school because a lot of the students found him really creepy and
Oh,
weird.
jeez.
And I guess he was sort of being a little bit saying inappropriate
Right.
things. And then 6 months later, another friend saw him down on Khao Road handing out flyers for his own English school called Seth School or
Oh,
something like
Jesus.
that.
Oh, Jesus.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Well, I think
anyway,
we, I think this is a good lesson, because you and I have encountered that world, like dealt with it. It's an expat thing that you're going to deal with at some point. But it's
Yeah.
a good lesson that some people do get just sucked into it, and you realize, oh, they've been in that, they've been stuck there for a decade, and
And hey, man, if that's where you want to be and
Yeah.
you can afford to be there, more power to you.
Yeah,
I got nothing against it, but it was just, I never even considered that you could just easily sort of
yeah,
slide into
just
there
becomes the
and never
norm.
get out.
Yeah, it becomes the norm.
Yeah.
All right. Well,
Yeah.
my second person is again, it's another friend of mine, who I still have good attitude towards, good feeling towards, but someone I learned a lesson from their experience. So I'm just going to call this guy my American friend. Super interesting guy, very well educated. He played a big role in my early years here, where he had already been in Thailand for a few years. So he was one of my early mentors. Actually, that's a good show. That is a good
Okay.
show. We should do a show on when we first got here, like who did we turn to? I mean, some of the
Ooh,
people.
that's
I mean,
good.
some of our former guests on the show, like Dan or Derek Van Pelt, who's been a guest on the show. These are some of the first guys I met, and they were gave me advice. And so this friend I'm going to talk about is an American guy who was the same way.
Okay.
He was very gracious. He threw parties, and he helped me adjust to Thailand. And I worked with him for many years. Then he left and started his own company. But the lesson comes from the fact that he ended up getting sick and having to leave Thailand on relatively short notice. And I knew there was some other drama in his life involving like a business, but the real problem was like a health problem that I was busy doing other stuff. I was actually had just gotten married, and I had my own stuff going on, and he had his own life. So I just saw him a couple times. It's one of those things where you hear, oh, so and so sick, and you touch base with them. Hey, man, how are you? Oh, whatever, this is going on. And then 2 months later, you hear, oh, they're really worse. Maybe you talk to him one more time, and then he left.
Yeah.
And then he left Thailand.
Okay.
He's gone.
Yeah.
And I'm still.
That's happened a few times, but unfortunately, the few people I've known have passed away.
Oh, really? No.
Yeah.
This person is still a friend of mine on Facebook, and so he still tries to keep in touch with his Thai life. And this is a guy who was here for at least a decade, and he was super active, super popular in the expat community. Like
Okay.
he's the kind of guy who could do this show. Like he was just super savvy, like got along with Thai people great, uh, and kind of the lesson I took away from this was just kind of about, I don't know how else to put it, kind of about the fragile nature or the fragility of our life here. But by the time that he left, I'd already been here for maybe 11 or 12 years. So
Okay.
I had turned this corner where I realized, oh, I might be here forever. And then I saw what happened to him, and I was like, oh shit, I might not be here. Anything could happen. Like, I don't know. Like, I'm still not a citizen here. Like, this is not my
Right.
home. In a way, there's different ways to define your home, right? But one way to think
Yeah.
about your home is it's where you go when you have nothing left. Like you're in a desperate state or you have no money. So you have to go to where you were born or where you grew up and you have friends or family there. It's just so, when everything's going well, then you can have an adventure. You can travel the world and live in foreign countries when things are going when things are going well. But if things completely fall apart, you go quote unquote home.
Right.
And
Yeah. Back to where you're
and
from.
he went back to the States and he's built his life. Like he's doing fine now. Thank God.
Hmm.
He's doing well. But I don't know. It's just the lesson
Well,
the lesson I took away is just that anything can happen. I could just get sick. And maybe, in my case now that I'm unmarried, like if I got really sick and couldn't take care of myself, I would have to go back to Ohio. I'd
Yeah.
have to go back to my
Yeah.
family. I mean, I can't. I mean, who knows? Maybe I could afford some type of nurse or care here. But if I needed somebody to take care of me, I think I'd have to go back to Ohio.
Yeah, and it's something that expats here always have to keep in the back of their mind, and you arrived at that realization through a friend of yours having to leave. But I think a lot of us know that, but we might not have seen it in action, right? But
Right.
like we always joke on the show, who knows what's going to happen with the country? Like we could wake up tomorrow and they say expats now have to pay 100% more
That's
for
right.
everything.
Sure. Yeah.
For
Right.
yeah, and you never know. And this is the ultimate safety in trying to get citizenship here, because then you're here. But the way the visa laws here, there's no stability. It's year by year, and you're never 100% sure. Even people like Richard Barrow are never 100% sure that their visas are going to be renewed.
I mean, the funny thing is you're absolutely right, literally. But I do think there is a tendency to feel like, oh, I'm good. But then you're right. But then you wake up and realize, oh shit, so and so had his visa canceled. Can you believe it? Like, he's been here 10 years and he just had his visa canceled.
It's a very Sabai lifestyle, and it's easy to get in this comfortable, very comfortable rut here.
Right, right.
And, a similar thing happened to friends of mine years ago. They were here teaching on degrees that they had bought on the internet.
Oh, I see.
And one day there's someone to their school came to this was a long time ago. One day someone came to them at the school and said, "Hey, we got word from the education department that your degree is fake." And they're like, "What? Outrageous. Of course my degree is real." And they said, "Okay, well, the Department of Education is going to come to the school on Monday and they want to talk to you, and you can just bring your degree
Right.
and show them."
Yeah.
And she's like, "No problem. I can do that." And so this was like Thursday, and on Friday she packed, and on Saturday she left.
Yeah,
That was it.
that's right.
It was over because she knew she'd been busted and there was no way out.
Yeah. I guess in a way it's a little bit like my buddy. People have
Yeah,
different.
I mean your buddy was a bit more legit,
yeah,
but
right.
still.
The bottom line is, if you might end up being a citizen, I might end up being a citizen, but right now we're not, which means that we might have to leave.
Yeah, it's something I don't think about, but
Yeah.
I know
Yeah.
in the back of my mind,
Something could go
you
wrong.
never know.
I obviously hope nothing does go wrong, but it is something to remember that being an expat is just not, here's how I think about it. I like the fact that I have a feeling that I'm on an adventure, but if you want that feeling, that means you're not at home.
Interesting.
can't-
Ooh, that's deep.
You just can't have it both ways. Either you're on an adventure away from home, which means you could get snatched back.
Right.
You have to, if you want to say I'm on an adventure, then you have to accept that. Well, then you might get snatched back.
Adventure
The adventure might end.
adventure ends one day.
That's right.
Yeah, exactly.
Because once you say, okay, this is my home, I'm just here, whatever happens, like this is, I'm going to die on this hill, then that's a different situation. But
Yeah.
I still like the idea that I'm on an adventure.
Yeah, it's hard for me to think of myself back in Okotoks going, man, what an adventure this is.
But if you went back, you could say, what an adventure I had.
Yeah, totally.
You'd have a lot of stories to tell. It would take you years back home to run out of
Right.
Thai stories. People would be like, who's that insane dude babbling about Thailand? What is,
And they'd
is
be
that
like,
true?
there's
People would be like,
a lesson to learn from this.
is he making all the shit up?
They have their podcast. Man, the people you meet, they claim all these crazy
The
things.
Okotoks podcast. Where they're talking about, I met this weirdo. The interesting people you meet in Okotoks.
Oh, that'd be hilarious. Full circle.
That is great. That is great. Anyway,
That's funny.
yeah. In my case, both these guys are people who played a big role in my life. It's just that their life here in Thailand didn't work out. So both of them are doing well now, as far as I can tell. So things,
good.
their lives worked out. It's just their life in Thailand didn't work out.
Well, I hope wherever pervy Seth is, he's doing well too. All right, let's get into some love, loathe, or live with, where one of us picks a particular aspect of living in Bangkok, which we discuss to decide if it's something that we love about living here, loathe about living here, or have come to accept as something that we just have to learn to live with no matter how we feel about it. And this week, I got a little something for you, a little something.
All right, hit me.
It's pretty minor, and it's hard to have a hard opinion on something so minor, but it does bother me because I'm a grammar Nazi. What do you think of when you see something that says, like something you want, like, I don't know, a DVD for sale, 450 baht, B-A-T-H, the misspelling of the word bot. Does this bother you as much as it does me?
Hey, no, actually, this stuff, I'm going to say loathe, but it's not a hard loathe. But all of these kind of minor, let's just call them minor mistakes in English, okay? That's basically what it is, minor mistakes in English. Number one, I understand it's a foreign language for them, so I just want to be sympathetic in general. That's the common sense. My Thai sucks. I have no right to criticize their English. So there's that.
100%.
That's the rational response.
Yes. Yes, it is.
But my actual response is that, if you just ask a native speaker, this is what drives me crazy sometimes. And I tell my students this, my students are studying English at the university level. They're reading Shakespeare and stuff like that. Their English is, my guess is most of my students in Thailand, they're probably in the top 5% of Thai people for English language ability. But I tell them it's very hard to get a foreign language perfectly. And before you publish anything, have a genuine native speaker proofread. And so
Right.
all mistakes in English bother me. All of them.
We're in 100% agreement on this. I agree.
It like
100%.
shouldn't. I mean, I do understand this idea of sympathy, but then there's another part of me that's like, just ask a foreigner and it'll be fixed. And like your sign that's been there for 10 years it can be correct. And we've talked before about multi-million-dollar Thai corporations that have mistakes in signage. So it's all the way from street people all the way up to multi-million-dollar Thai corporations. They won't ask a native speaker, should I put an apostrophe here? Just ask.
Right.
Just ask anyone. Like you don't have to ask someone from that UN party you talked about. You don't have to ask someone from
right. Just a dude walking down the street.
Speaker. Yeah, no, we don't put an apostrophe there.
Right. No, I'm 100% agreement, and I'm in no position to be making fun of other people's second language abilities.
Yeah, totally wrong.
And I understand where the mistake comes from, because bat and the th in Thailand is very close to the t sound.
That's
but
right.
but yeah, even if I spoke even if I spoke Stu J Raj levels of Thai,
right.
I would still ask, hey, does this look right? If I wrote something, hey, does this make sense to you?
For sure. No,
just
I mean,
real quick.
I mean, for sure you have to. Love, loathe, or live with is all about our feelings. It's about our emotional reaction. It's not about how we should react.
Yeah. I'm a loathe, but only because I just like to see things spelled correctly. It's not, it doesn't make me angry. I'm just like, come on, guys, just ask.
Yeah.
Ask someone. It takes 20 seconds.
Agreed with you. 100%. 100%. All right. A final thanks to our patrons who support the show. Patrons get a ton of cool perks and the warm, fuzzy feeling knowing that they're helping in our never-ending quest for cool content. Find out more by clicking support on our website. And connect with us online. We're Bangkok Podcast on social media, bangkokpodcast.com on the web, or simply bangkokpodcast@gmail.com. We love hearing from our listeners and always reply to our messages.
Yeah, you can also listen to each episode on YouTube. Send us a voicemail through our website. We'll feature on the show. Hit me up on Blue Sky at BKK Greg. Thank you for listening, everyone. Take it easy. And we'll see you back here next week.
No doubt.